Welcome to Prosper in All Things and to this brief introduction to the God, Money, and Me Discovery course. I want to congratulate you on your decision to be part of the solution, the Prosper in All Things solution, You see, while others may be complaining about their circumstances, you are different. Because you understand that for things to change, you must change. And you're taking this time right now to watch this because you understand that the best investment you can make is in you. Now, with over 3 decades in business, I have found a very simple formula for producing high power results in your business. Mathematical, I don't think it should intimidate you too much to do some math here, but I think it'll always stick with you. And the equation goes like this. Your mindset plus your skill set plus your action, equals your results. Now, if you remember doing equations, if you can think way back to algebra, you know that this left side has to equal the right side, and that what you do when you increase the left side, you also increase the right side. So when you increase your mindset, your skill set, your action level, you're going to increase your results. Leave entities out, and you're going to decrease your result. Decrease your level, for example, of action, and you're going to decrease your level of results. But what I have found mentoring people for a number of decades now, I have found, especially with a lot of the women I work with, that they are just running against the wind. You can see in this picture, they are just pushing and shoving and fighting, running against the wind. And because of it, they are mentally and physically exhausted from the amount of effort. You see, they work hard, but they just can't seem to get ahead. They're stuck. And maybe you're one of these individuals, these women that have spent hundreds and even thousands of dollars on books and on programs on how to get more organized and how to market better, how to use social media, how to get more sales. But you're no further along. Maybe you desire to live a prosperous life. You desire to walk with God. But to you, the two seem sometimes totally unrelated and even confusing. Maybe you feel like you're not living on purpose. Maybe you don't even know what your purpose is. Maybe you have this inward desire to make your life count, to leave something bigger than yourself, to leave something of value, to leave a legacy. But the way you're going, you don't feel like you are. Maybe you're like so many people who just feel that they're living many, many lives. Their life is fragmented. It's compartmentalized. You know what I'm talking about. There's one life on Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. There's a different life on the weekends. Another life on Sunday morning or Saturday morning or whenever you go to worship, etc., etc., etc. Well, I want to tell you that there is a solution. I like to call it my Triple Crown Prosperity Plan. It is your solution. It is when you come to understand your brain wiring, your spiritual wiring, and have an action plan to create the results that you're looking for. You see, I have found in not understanding your brain wiring, not understanding your spiritual wiring, and not having an action plan that is custom designed for you and your brain wiring and your spiritual wiring causes this running against the wind. Understanding it can lead to a breakthrough so you can live your life full out and prosper in all things, in every area of your life, physically, financially, relationally, spiritually, It is possible. You're in the right place at the right time. So that you can move from running against the wind to having the wind beneath your wings. Do you know what a joy this is? When you just capture this moment that actually you put the joy and the peace and the fun back into your work. And you literally enjoy and you're moving forward and the wind is beneath your wings. You see, I've experienced the many extremes of money. I know what it is to have a childhood of luxury. I had an indoor swimming pool. This isn't my actual house, but it looked very similar to this. And over on the right side, my parents' bedroom overlooked that. Over to the left, there was a fire pit, and we could all sit around the pool. There was a rock diving board, and spent a lot of happy hours of diving into that pool and horseback riding. I was a high-rated. I competed and showed and jumped as a picture, as you see right here, would be a very typical picture for me on the weekends. I had my own trainer. And, you know, my parents lived a life where Hollywood parties were common around our house, and limo drivers and caterers and bartenders and all that goes with a life of luxury. But you know what? It was also a life of dysfunction. There was so much pain. There was arguing, just incessant arguing between my parents. In this picture, you can see a little kid holding their ears, and I would actually do more than that. I would hide in my closet or crawl into my bed so I wouldn't have to hear the arguing and the alcoholism and the common where your parents aren't the ones talking anymore, just a bottle of alcohol is talking, and the emotional abuse and the violence that I grew up knowing. It was not uncommon for me to see an axe go through a brand new Jaguar or a Nordstrom wardrobe be a bonfire on the front yard. We had a full-time staff to constantly change our windows because things were going through our windows all the time, from ashtrays to fish tanks to Christmas trees. So I know what it is. And I know that most of our beliefs and our scripting, that is our money mindset, is formed during this critical age, usually between the ages of 5 and 8. So you can just imagine the conflicting beliefs that I developed. These would be with me for many, many years. You see, I began to have a mindset that to be wealthy, you had to be greedy, you had to be cheating, you had to be a lying scumbag, looking at a picture like this, where you couldn't trust. You know, I developed a vocabulary, like maybe many of you, that you could complete the sentence. If I said money doesn't grow on, you could finish and say trees, and I could say filthy, and you would finish and say rich. Money is the root of all evil. You see, we all have these scripts that we just kind of took on without even stopping to think about them or evaluate them, and I was no different. So I had this view of the rich that was despicable and lying and greedy and cheating and can't be trusted. And then on the other hand, the poor, well, they were virtuous. They were generous. They were holy. They were honest. You know what I'm talking about? The Mother Teresas of the world. If you really wanted to be godly, you needed to be poor. And you know, in those younger years, without realizing, in my unconscious, I made an inner vow. And that inner vow was, I don't want any of this. I don't want any money. So can you imagine what happened by adulthood when I got married and was begging my husband not to go into business and not make money, and he wanted to make money, and you can imagine the conflict. You can imagine the type of things I attracted to myself, jobs that I hated and bosses from hell, and a whole lot of misery. I can't tell you how many lunch hours I would go away and just cry. The bottom line, I was stuck. Maybe you understand that feeling of just being stuck. But you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And for me, I wish I could share the story. I don't have time now, but I will at one of my big live events. But all I can tell you is that I began to discover the keys to breakthrough. And that's what I love to teach you. That's what the Triple Crown Prosperity Plan is all about. It's the keys to breakthrough. It's when you can come to understand your unique brain wiring. You see, your brain has a unique energy advantage. I'll tell you more about that when you can discover your scripting and maybe rewrite your scripting. When you can discover your spiritual wiring, when you can know who you are and whose you are and the purpose why you're on this planet, and you can have the mindsets, the attitudes and beliefs that produce the results that you desire and aren't in conflict with that. And you understand the spiritual laws of prosperity so you can flow with them and not go cross current against them. Then you can create an action plan that's all you, that you can enjoy, that you can stick with, and that can really produce the results. So let's talk a little bit about the brain wiring. You see, most of you know that there's a left and right hemisphere to your brain, but I want you to know there's actually 4 divisions. There's a lateral fission that goes across your brain, dividing your brain into 4 perfect parts. There's actually 8 lobes, 4 quadrants of the brain. 2 anterior, we call those frontal, and 2 posterior, we call those basal. And do you know what we've discovered with the advent of the PET scan? We have discovered that each person is born with what we call a brain lead. What I mean is one of those quadrants has an energy advantage for you. In other words, the brain runs cool when you do functions within your brain lead. That is your unique energy advantage. So here you can see the blue, each of the 4 quadrants, one of them lit up. And I talk all about that in the God, Money, and Me Discovery course, and even more so in the all-day God, Money, and Me events. But when you look at this, you need to understand, here's the point I want to make. When you are functioning in a brain quadrant that is not your innate energy advantage, you are spending 100 times more energy on the task in those quadrants that are not in your innate energy advantage. I am not exaggerating when I say 100 times more energy. I mean more glucose uptake, more oxygen uptake. You are burning fuel. Your brain is running hot. Literally, some authors and scientists have described it as frying our brain. You see, a syndrome has been discovered called prolonged adaptation stress syndrome. See, maybe your culture, maybe your family of origin, maybe your religion, maybe your gender, maybe a lot of things has pushed you into a preferred quadrant to work in, one that matches your family or matches your religion or matches your sex, etc. And maybe you've learned to operate in there, and you've years and years and years, you've done activities there. Maybe you've spent more than 51% of your time in that quadrant. And what we now know, burning that 100 times more energy, that there's a syndrome called prolonged adaptation stress syndrome. Most of you have heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, and you understand what the havoc that wreaks. But what we know now is staying a long time prolonged, more than 51% of your time doing functions outside of your brain lead, has a very similar syndrome with all of the same symptoms. You see, what happens when you spend more than 50% of your time outside your brain lead? Well, first, your brain tries to protect you from you. And so what you'll find is you'll tend to procrastinate. That's your brain saying, stop, this is way too energy draining, this is exhausting, stop. But of course, if you're like me or any super achiever, you decide you are going to push through that procrastination. Nothing's going to stop you. You're going to affirm your way through it. You're going to muscle your way through it. You're going to talk your way through it. And the next step is going to be exhaustion. You can't figure out why, no matter how much coffee and tea you drink or caffeine or whatever you do, you just can't seem to stop being so exhausted. And then you keep going, and you are at a higher risk of actual full-on burnout, full-on crash. Probably you know a family member or people around you who've experienced this crash. Likely to experience midlife crisis. Your immune system is compromised. You're likely to experience a serious illness. This is a serious matter, not knowing your brain wiring, and not only not knowing it, but not spending at least 51% of your time in your innate energy advantage. Well, secondly, after your brain wiring, you need to understand your spiritual wiring. That's all about you. Who are you? What is your identity? Who are you? Beyond giving yourself a title of saying I'm a wife or a mother or a sister or a brother or a daughter, but who are you really? And whose are you? See, I like to say I'm a daughter of the Most High God. I belong to Him, and I'm made in His image. And because of that, I've discovered my purpose. And your purpose is when you have that wind underneath your wings and you just know, like I know when I'm doing prosper in all things, when I'm equipping women to prosper in every area of their life, that I know that I'm living out my purpose. And I'm filled with joy and peace and excitement, and I can't wait to go do more of it. Your spiritual wiring also encompasses your mindset, your belief system. What do you believe about money? What scripts, like a movie script, are you following maybe without even thinking about it? You know, the statistics are as high as 95% of what we do is just programming. It's just based on our past. It's just straight in your subconscious. We plug in the tape and we go. And we've got these perceptions about life and these guidelines of how we're supposed to live it. And these are unconscious unless we learn to identify them. So you picked up a script that someone else wrote. You don't even know you have it. And it's guiding your life right now. But you see, the script and the mindset that I love comes from a scripture called 3 John 2 that says, "Beloved, I pray you may prosper in all things and be in health, even as your soul prospers." Now, what would happen if you had a mindset like that? What would happen if you had a mindset that began with beloved, that began with realizing you are loved, you are dearly loved, and you can love yourself, and that you could prosper in all things? You don't have to give up your health to get your wealth and then spend all your wealth trying to get your health and all of the craziness that we've been taught, but you could prosper in every area of your life and be in health, even as your soul prospers. I propose it's more than possible. I propose that your prosperity is linked directly to your soul. Soul scripturally here is defined as your mind, will, and emotions. So in other words, as your soul prospers, so does your finances. As your soul prospers, so does your health. As your soul prospers, so does your business. Well, tie that in and understand the laws of prosperity. And there's so many more than I can cover here, but the law of giving and receiving, the law of expectation, the law of attraction, the law of promotion, the law of forgiveness. Oh, these are so powerful. They're like the law of gravity. You understand not to jump off a tall building because every cause has an effect. And so do these laws. Understand them, and you prosper. Violate them, and no matter how hard you work, you can't seem to get ahead. Let me give you an example. Let's take the law of expectation. Jesus said, according to your faith, be it unto you. In other words, according to what you expect, let it be so. What are you expecting in your life? You know, recently I was able to see something very interesting. I have 3 children. My middle daughter, Kristen, moved into her first apartment. So here she is, 20 years old. She was 19 when she did that. And a beautiful apartment in a beautiful luxury complex. And you go on and it's just beautifully painted and decorated. And, the kitchen is exquisite. The bathroom is bigger than most homes. And there it is. I walk in and it's fully furnished. You see, my daughter had the expectation that that's how she would live. She didn't have a poverty mindset. And I didn't go buy this furniture for her. Her dad and I didn't buy this furniture for her. She had bought this all herself. But you walked into this, and it was just very luxurious. And I thought to myself, how interesting. See, my first apartment, when I got married some 26 years ago, we didn't have any furniture. My husband and I slept on a floor in a blanket we had brought from Korea. We ate on a ramen box that we put a tablecloth on. And I thought, how interesting, how different. Same age. I was actually a little older, a little more experienced. Had even graduated from college. And what a difference. You see, my daughter only expected the best. She didn't expect anything but the nicest apartment. And you know what? As she expected, so it was done for her. There's a fascinating scripture when they prayed for rain and the prophet Elisha said, here's what I'll tell you. You will not see wind or rain. And yet, build trenches. Make this dry brook bed full of trenches. Go out and dig the trenches to get ready for the rain. And they'll be filled with water. You mean before it was raining, before they'd seen a drop of rain, when it was still in the drought, they were supposed to dig the trenches? Yes. And of course those trenches filled. My question to you is, each day as you go out and face your day, what do you expect? When you look in your bank account, what do you expect? When you look in the mirror, what do you expect? When you have your relationships, what do you expect? Well, when you learn to work with these laws, I like what Raymond Hollywell says in Working with the Law. Working with the law, when you understand it, becomes as simple as touching the light button. Like an electrician, which, when we do, floods our mentality with illumination and understanding. Learn how to flip on the light switch and get the results that you want to get. This is what we teach in the God, Money, and Me Discovery course. We teach you to understand and work within your brain wiring, understand and work within your spiritual wiring, understand how to work with these laws, and then take action. Because you see, we know that action, that faith without works is dead. Woody Allen said, 80% of success is showing up. Jim Rohn said, the pain of discipline weighs ounces. You know what we're going to teach you how to do? It's going to require some discipline. But the pain of regrets weighs pounds. See, I'm going to ask you, we all know the definition of insanity. To keep doing the same things and expect different results. For things to change, you have to change. What happens if 5 years from now, your finances, your health, your relationships are where they are right now? Are you going to be okay with that? Carry it out 10 years, 15 years old. Carry it out to sitting on your deathbed and everything remains as it is right now. Does that hurt? Is that painful, that thought? I know for me, that thought propelled me flat out into action because I understood that the pain of regret weighs pounds. Learning these things, developing this mindset, getting these skill sets, putting in place these actions weighs ounces. The pain of a life not fully lived, of never knowing all that you could do, of leaving the songs in you and the books still unwritten, and the debt still crashing on and the legacy not created and the memories not existed, that weighs pounds. You see, I understand one thing. I promise you one thing. Your business will never outgrow your level of personal development. Let me say it again. Your business will never outgrow your level of personal development. As you grow, your business will grow. So here's some action steps. Number one, you've got to know your why. You have to know that inside and out, and it needs to be a compelling why. You have to be so clear on your goals. You need to have those in writing. You need to have them in a place where you can look at them every day. You can speak them. You can think about them. You can imagine. And they are positive. They are present. You can attach emotion to them. You have to develop a morning routine because that sets the course of your whole day. Here's the big one. Here's the top thing I've learned. I've been fortunate enough to be able to create companies worth millions. I've been able to travel all over the world. I've been able to walk where Jesus walked. I've been able to travel all over in the most amazing places. I've been able to eat tiramisu in Italy, and I've been able to be there at the Eiffel Tower. I've been able to be in Czech Republic. I've been able to be all over Asia. Been able to walk, sit underneath the same olive trees that Jesus sat under. And here's the one thing I can tell you with all that experience. The number one thing that I did right, I can tell you a lot of things I did wrong, but the number one thing I did right is I made personal development a top priority. I actually made it a line item budget when I didn't even have a budget, when I was broker than broke. I knew that the greatest ROI, the greatest return on investment was me, because if I changed, everything would change. So I'm going to encourage you to make your personal development a top priority. Find someone that's done what you've done. Find someone that shares the values that you share, that shares the mindset, that has done what you want to do. And I'm telling you, latch on to them until you get those same results. Make reading a habit. You know, leaders are readers. The biggest libraries are owned by the wealthiest individuals. I can't even tell you how many thousand books I have. I read 4 to 8 books a month. I can't get enough of it. Read at least 15 minutes a day. Listen to educational and personal development tapes daily. Turn your car into a rolling university. Get yourself into action. Here's another important thing. We talked about your brain wiring. You don't want to end up in prolonged adaptation stress syndrome. You don't want to end up crashing, midlife crisis, fried, burned out. Determine what is your innate energy advantage. You can do that by taking the BTSA assessment. You can go to prosperinallthings.com/BTSA and get that. You'll get a 25-page report, and it's going to be powerful to help you understand what is your innate energy advantage, and maybe where have you been operating? Where are you now? You'll get a 25-page report. You'll know your introversion, extroversion. You'll know your sensory preference. So many powerful things, because then you become aware. You see, awareness is the secret to change. If you don't even know your brain, how can you change? But when you become aware, then you can look at how you're spending your time. You can keep a log for a week or two, and you can see where you need to restructure, so that your time is based on your brain wiring. You're spending at least 51% of your time in your energy advantage. I'm going to encourage you. You took this time to invest in yourself, and I'm going to congratulate you on that. And I'm going to encourage you now to take the next step, because as I mentioned, you will never outgrow your business. Your level of personal development will determine. You learning these things will determine how much money you're going to make next year, how much time freedom you have next year, what kind of legacy you live, what kind of joy you have What kind of passion? I'm going to encourage you to learn more and go deeper. This was, as much as I could cover in this short time with you. There's so much I want to talk to you about. But you're going to need to go to the God, Money, and Me Discovery Series. That's where I spend a full hour on understanding your brain wiring and a full hour on understanding your spiritual wiring and discovering who you are and discovering these laws and getting yourself in sync with them, and a full hour on helping you create your own action plan so you can discover your unique brain and spiritual wiring, and you can break for once and for all. You can eliminate these limiting beliefs that have been holding you back. I can tell you wherever you are financially right now, it's totally 100% based on the belief systems that you're holding on to. I can teach you, and I see this result every time. I can teach you how to increase your cash flow and your peace of mind. Those two do not need to be separate. More cash, more peace. Eliminate procrastination. Get rid of it. The sabotaging things you're doing half the time because your brain's trying to protect you. And put the fun back in. Put the joy back in. Put the fulfillment back into your business. Life is way too short to spend the majority of your waking hours doing something you don't enjoy, or worse, doing something you don't enjoy and you make limited resources. You don't have money in the bank. Go today, go now, and go to this website that you see there below and register for the God, Money, and Me Discovery Series. Take the next step. Learn to understand these things. Increase your awareness and bring the joy back into what you're doing. I'm also going to encourage you, find in your area or fly in, if there isn't one in your area, to a live event near you. These live events, they are so powerful. We get to spend a day together, and they are a combination of roll up your sleeves and get results. And, well, I like to have a lot of fun, and I like to pamper you. The last one we had was at a beautiful resort and spa, and we had all kinds of special surprises and treats. People left refreshed. They left inspired. And you know what? They left and they began getting results immediately. We started getting the testimonies back, the success stories, that they'd gone back and changed the way they were doing business and the way that they were doing things at home, and they were seeing an increase already. Cash flow was up, peace was up, joy was up, balance was up. Oh, it was just exciting to see the stories. So find a God, Money, and Me, a God, Health, and Me, or a God, Love, and Me event or a workshop near you. You can do that by going to prosperinallthings.com/events. Get ready to put more money and more health and better relationships into this upcoming year. I'm just going to close by saying, beloved, precious one listening to this, I pray that this isn't about anyone else, about you. This is your life. This is your future. You only have one to live it. Enjoy it. I pray you prosper in all things, physically, relationally, spiritually, financially, and be in health. Have the joy, the health, the vitality to prosper, even as your soul prospers.
Just follow your heart. Just trust your heart. Just step into it.